Hey everyone, this is Randall, and welcome back to the Imperial Minis channel for the next in our Season 4 update series. This one is going to be focusing on Greyjoys. And for this video, I am joined by Dominic, representing the Hits and Crits crew. Dominic, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here and doing this video with you. And yeah, let's go.
All right. Hey, do you want to introduce yourself to folks? Because I know this is your first time on my channel.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I live around Hamburg as well. I've been playing Song for like 3 years, and yeah, I went to the local hobby meetings here, and that's where I got to meet Chris and got involved with the whole hits and crits thing. And yeah, so as I'm not part of the founders or something, I'm just associated with them. I help with the tournaments, organizations, stuff and like this. And yeah, I just enjoy the hobby and I'm happy to be helpful in any way possible. And well, now I'm doing the video. I'm super excited about it. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to be here. It was great to meet you in person in Hamburg when I was there a couple months ago. Excuse me.
No worries.
And yeah, Chris and Dennis said you're kind of the resident Greyjoy expert, so they asked for your assistance here.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Yeah, for a long time I was kind of the only one playing Greyjoys as a main faction. I think that changed now with the recent update. There's more Greyjoy players showing up. Um, yeah, but I guess because I was the only one playing it as a main faction, they recommended me. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
All
let's
right,
see
well,
how
I'm
can.
excited about this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
there was a lot of really good changes in this patch. So like always, we're gonna just kind of go section by section through the patches or through the patch changes, not necessarily in the same order. But we're gonna start off with tactics cards, then go to unit attachments, and then NCUs, and then conclude with the combat units. So
Right.
starting off with the tactics cards, there were a few changes to the base tactics deck. Dominic, do you want
Right.
to tell us which one you found to be the most interesting or most impactful for you?
All right. So yeah, there's been a few changes to a few cards. And I think the most impactful, I like that actually two very impactful changes. I think I like the one on Finger Dance the best.
Hmm.
Finger Dance just used to be like a very crappy card. You just wanted to get rid of it, right? Like you draw it and you're sighing and you think that, okay, what am I
Hmm.
gonna do with it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
after it lost the ability to be put on the bowman, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, exactly. Maybe I should just say the changes were in season 3 that they um you had to attach it to a unit and only on a melee attack you were triggering this vulnerable, right? So and
Hmm.
before that it was also not a very good card. It only worked well on the bowman, but not so well on all the other units. And well, after this the change in season 3, I think it got very useless. And yeah, now it's very strong. It's still an attachable card. But now you can pick before a melee attack to take a wound or two and then get a rerolls, dish out vulnerable or a panicked. And that's very strong, I think. It's a very, very good card now. It went from zero to hero, in my opinion. So like
Hmm.
before you threw it away end of round or cycled it with Roderick, and now you just want to have it straight away, I think, attached to one of your stronger combat units. And yeah, I think damage output just is much more consistent now. And it's a good thing that it's like pick and mix. You
Hmm.
can choose whatever you need, and I think it's just small price to pay the one or two wounds um, to uh, to get like a big bonus. We all know how good condition tokens are, how good
Yeah.
rerolls are, and yeah, with the overall changes in Greyjoys, to heal those two wounds back or one wound back, it's not a big problem anymore. And
Hmm.
for example, if you pair Finger Dance with Reapers, they have inbuilt heal, and
Yeah.
so might even be back to full strength after you
Hmm.
took those two wounds. Yeah, so great card now, really, really worth it. And you want to have straight away, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't even have that much to add to this. I think my first impression was it's kind of like a red priestess from Baratheon. You know, you can attach
Hmm.
it to the card and they can take 2 wounds, except you have the added bonus of also being able to get rerolls instead of one of those tokens if you want. And yeah, it's Finger Dance is now one of these cards that I'm wanting to bring Roderick NCU more often than I did before to fish. One of the cards to fish for would be Finger Dance.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
just it's
Mm.
just so good that you want it as soon as possible. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's a fantastic card, fantastic change. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it took one of our kind of worst cards and made it one of our absolute best cards.
yeah, exactly. Like before you did there was no use for it really, and now you really want to have it every game, both copies
Hmm.
if you can, and yeah,
Yeah.
that makes Roderick actually also very strong again, or he was strong before because you wanted to cycle those bad cards out of your hand, right?
Hmm.
And now you want him to get all those good cards straight away.
Yeah.
So he's still in a very good place, and yeah,
Hmm.
very good NCU still. All right,
All right, so
so
we'll move on to the next one.
mhm,
Yeah, you mentioned there were a couple of really good changes. The second one is the Iron Price. So
yeah,
this
man.
was a card that was overhauled quite a bit, and this card used to require you to burn pillage tokens. So it used to have to burn pillage tokens to get a good effect out of it, and now always get a you'll get a good effect out of it, but then you have the option of burning a single pillage token to get an even better effect or an additional effect. So I think this is a really great change. You never want to have to burn pillage tokens, but this card now, it allows you to still burn pillage, but you're getting like a really good effect out of it, and you're not having to burn a pillage token to get some kind of an effect out of it. So I really like this card. And what do you think about this one, Dominic? Think this was a big buff to this card, or are you still not a fan of the Iron Price?
No, I like the Iron Press very much. You
Hmm.
said it. I mean, we still have to burn pillage to get like the big effect of the cards, but
Yeah.
now we can also just play it to remove a token,
Hmm.
or get a bonus for the next attack. And
Yeah.
if you opt to spend one pillage, you get a big heal, massive heal,
Hmm.
2+ for +1 for each destroyed rank. It's very strong. And also the attack highest dice plus rerolls. That's an investment you can uh, justify to spend this pillage for. And yeah, it's a very good card now as well. Before it was just too expensive, in my opinion, to
Yeah.
spend this pillage, and um, having to spend this pillage to get anything out of it was just more a deterrent. Like you didn't want to really waste this pillage. And
Hmm.
now in season 4, you have also better access to pillage through units.
Yeah.
We will talk about them later, I think. And yeah, it's not such a problem to spend this pillage to
Hmm.
unlock the additional effects of the cards. So yeah, very good. As you said, very strong card.
Yeah, and it gives you a really reliable source of the condition token removal, which Greyjoys have always struggled with. So
Yeah,
that on its own is just a great buff.
yeah.
And there was just one other tactics card that was changed, and we'll just kind of go over this one really briefly. I don't think there's a whole lot of discussion we need to have on this one, but rating call got changed, and it essentially the healing on it changed to kind of mirror supply aid essentially. So
Hmm.
now you can take up to 3 wounds and you heal that +1. So I believe it used to be you could take up to 4 wounds and then heal those 4 onto something else. So you
Yeah, exactly.
basically you're saving 1 wound. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the card was always useful to generate
Hmm.
this pillage. You wait until someone controls bags, then you play the card just to get the pillage token. Now you get a free heal out of it without even to remove model from another unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, still useful.
Hmm.
Just made a necessary card a bit better. it's yeah, useful change, I think.
Yeah, good change. So now we're going to move on to unit attachments. There were a couple of attachments that were changed,
That's true.
and the first was Victarion. Do you want to lead off discussion on this one, Dominic? What you think about Victarion? This was a
Yeah,
universal change, but
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
Gladly, yeah. So I think both of the changes to the unit attachment were universal changes. So
Mhm.
For Victarion, what changed is that the Overrun now can also trigger a march, and it's also subtle change, right? But can be a big game changer. I play Victarion a lot. He's a very strong commander, and to give this bit more of mobility um, is very helpful. Um, Sometimes I had these situations where I destroyed a unit, got didn't have any other target to trigger the overrun, right? And then I'm
Mhm.
stuck between the enemy lines and cannot move, and then I get countercharged. And
Yeah.
yeah, now that won't happen so much anymore, I guess. You could just trigger the march, silence man, 6 movement. That's where you probably put Victarion. So you just move 12 inches away behind enemy lines, turn around, and then you're ready for the next charge. Yeah, I think, I mean, won't happen that much. But if it happens and you're kind of stuck, gives you another option. So
Mhm.
more options, more mobility is always good for Greyjoys. So we like it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing really to add. I mean, it's a great change. Yeah, lets Victarion cover a lot more ground, set himself up for another charge later. Also, he's probably going to be often in a unit that is a 6 movement speed unit anyway. You know, he's probably going to be in like a silenceman unit, so he's going to be potentially marching quite a far distance into behind enemy lines. So yeah, it's a great change. So the next one is Dagmer Cleftjaw. This is the Battle Scars 1 point attachment. This is a universal change that we've talked about before on others of our season 4 update videos, but I'm kind of tied for excitement on this version and in the Targaryen version. So the Targaryen version is the what's his name? Belwas. Yeah, Belwas,
Hmm.
Battle Scars
Hmm.
version, and then this one Dagmer. So I really love the new Battle Scars, especially in Greyjoys, because it just is so versatile for allowing you to just pick whichever of these buffs you want your unit to have. You no longer have to rely on your unit to get attacked by something to get some sort of benefit out of it. So you have all of the choice in your hands. You're not just relying on the enemy allowing your ability to be used. This ability can really, or this attachment can turn up an already aggressive unit into a very aggressive unit, or it can turn a more defensive unit, which I think is maybe the more important point here. It can turn a more defensive unit into an offensive unit. And in Greyjoys, we have some units like Iron Makers that can take a punch, but aren't particularly offensive
Hmm.
themselves. You have the Blacktide Chosen that we'll talk about a little bit more later, that really don't have anything going for them offensively, but you throw Dagmer into them, and now they can have quite a offensive impact. And just I more than anything throw him into silence men because it just makes them an even more unstoppable killing machine, and gives them vicious, which pairs wonderfully with their with everything else they have going on. So I think Dagmer for me is one of the coolest changes in the patch, even though it is a universal change. I think he just I haven't built a Greyjoy list yet that I didn't put Dagmer into. So
Okay.
I'm pretty excited for him. What do you think about Dagmer, Dominic?
Yeah, you seem to be a big fan, and I agree. It's a good change, mainly because you are not reliant on the opponent just attacking you, but you will
Mhm.
just get the bonus straight away, and then get even stronger as the more you get a hit, right? And yeah,
Mhm.
same as with Finger Dance, you can pick and choose kind of sort of at the start what you need, what you think is best
Yep.
for the situation. And yeah, there are some units that need some help. Iron Makers, of course, I mean, they have 7 dice on the 3 with crit blow, but crit blow is a bit unreliant, yeah. But
Yeah.
if you give them wishes or rerolls in build, then that gets them to another level. Same as
Hmm.
Blacktide Chosen, or of course, like it's good in any other, it's good in any unit, right?
Yeah.
So and for 1 point, I think it's a good attachment.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
universally,
Absolutely.
universally, really good in any unit. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. You
You,
can't really name a unit in the roster that wouldn't love to have this attachment in them. It's more of a question of, where can I get the most benefit out of this attachment?
mhm. I mean, I see Reapers maybe because they have inbuilt wishes already, so
Hmm.
maybe they might not benefit on the last rank so much.
Yeah.
But of course, as a starter, to have rerolls
Hmm.
or highest dice, it's also nice to have, right? I
Yeah.
think he could go into any melee unit actually. Just opens up more possibilities and um, yeah, we have like those few units that hit on the 4+, Stony Shore
Hmm.
Pillagers, Trappers, Blacktide Chosen, and yeah, they greatly benefit from
Yeah,
him.
for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, so that does it for the unit attachments. Now we're going to move on to the NCUs. And NCUs, there's some exciting changes in here, um, kind of some kind of so-so changes. I think the problem maybe with the NCUs is there's just a lot of good ones already. What are your thoughts in general, though, Dominic, on the NCU landscape for Greyjoys kind of going into season 4 here?
Yeah, I think we're in a very good spot. We can play almost all the NCUs. I think. I mean, the one overshadowing everything at the moment is Baelon. I think if
Hmm.
you play competitively, you have to play Baelon.
Yep.
Just lifts the army to another level, and without it, yeah, you just have to be much more careful. Like he's such a safety net.
Hmm.
That he's just very strong. Um, and apart from him, every other NCU is playable, I think, with a few exceptions, I think. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot, very good spot. We have a good range of NCUs to select from at the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah,
So talking about the changes, then we'll start off with Aeron Greyjoy.
right.
Now he's a guy that really used to never be taken or almost never taken, or if you saw him, it was almost like someone was kind of flexing a little bit to use him. Winning with him, it's like they were kind of handicapping themselves a little bit. But now he's been changed, so his healing has become a little bit more consistent. His healing used to be that just like it is now, you would heal one for every action you took, but then
Mhm.
it was you would only then heal more if you destroyed an enemy, and you would heal one for every rank that was destroyed. But now you don't have to kill an enemy to heal that. You heal one wound for every rank you destroy in an attack. So it's a little bit. It's not quite fueled by slaughter, but it's similar. But it doesn't require. It doesn't totally require attacking to heal. You can heal from maneuvering. You can heal from any action. Uh, so I think I've been running Aeron in almost every list I've been playing recently, just to test him out, and I've had nothing but good experiences with him so far. I think when I first looked at him and the changes, I thought it was not going to be that amazing, but I've really been finding him to do a substantial amount of healing in my games. So I'm quite happy with Aeron personally, because I've thrown him in. I can throw him on a unit of Silence Men or some unit that maybe doesn't have the best defense, but is very aggressive and offensive. And when they just start hacking and slashing and killing stuff, they heal up quite quickly. And you can even think about them, so a unit with him influencing them killing a unit, and then surging forth, and that surge forth counts as a maneuver action. That counts as an action, so they heal one off of that. So you can see there's the potential for Aeron to really keep a unit topped off if they're quite quite an offensive unit, or they're having some good luck on the dice. What do you think about Aeron, Dominic?
Yeah, you're totally right. He's so strong now. I played him a few times, and there's some combinations where he really shines. Um, as you said, like when you kill a unit, then you already heal a lot, but then you have your Surge Forth,
Hmm.
which is another extra heal, right? And
Yeah.
so I play him with Theon, is one of the combinations. Theon 1 point
Mm.
attachment, where you have the Reckless Heroism and then Swift Strike. So you charge in,
Yeah.
you take a few wounds, but then you charge in, heal one because you attack, then you might kill a rank or two, then you heal up again, then you
Hmm.
Swift Strike out of it and heal again.
Yeah.
So it can really pile up. It can be really a lot. And I think people they don't expect that to happen so much. I mean,
Hmm.
of course, they read the NCU, then they know what he's doing, but actually what it means,
Hmm.
uh, it shows later in the game only. And I've seen people getting frustrated with this. You heal and heal and heal again, and the
Yeah.
unit just won't die. And paired with other healing mechanics that we have Silence Men, they
Hmm.
have Dauntless, the Reapers have their
Prey
inbuilt
on
heal,
fear.
Prey on Fear,
Yeah.
exactly, their inbuilt heal. And um, you said it correctly, like the unit doesn't need to be really tanky, but as long as they dish out enough damage to kill those
Hmm.
ranks, they will have this very strong return for this NCU. So
Yeah.
yeah, can be really, really a lifesaver here.
Yeah. I know the last few games I played with Aeron, I could sense the frustration in my opponents by just how much raw healing the Greyjoys are putting out, and it's so much of it is just little trickles of healing
Mhm.
constantly that are just keeping your units alive, and making your opponents a little less confident that they're ever going to kill anything. So
Mhm.
yeah, Aeron is a great change. It looks like a pretty subtle change in the wording, but it has a pretty big impact from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he plays very well into this, the faction identity, like this dish out a lot and take a lot of damage, but
Hmm.
then heal up all these damages, right? Like
Yeah.
none of the units except the Iron Makers really can take a lot of punch.
Hmm.
But even the Iron Makers with their bad morales, that they suffer some damage in
Hmm.
the long run. And yeah, the Dredger's just healing up everything. We have so many ways now to mitigate this damage. It's really nice, and yeah, he represents this faction identity very nicely as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well put. And the next NCU is Asha Greyjoy, the would-be queen. Do you want
Mhm.
to lead off discussion on this one, Dominic? What do you think about her? She got a couple of different changes. One part of her is still the same, I think, but she got a couple of really important changes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So another NCU that wasn't seen very often. I
Mm-hmm.
think mostly because the 1 point attachment of Asha is still very strong. Iron
Yeah.
Resolve and Warcry. I really like it, and that's why you never saw this NCU. Now they changed it. That I think the morale boost based on pillage is still the same. They took it from season 3. What she got is that while she's influencing or when she's attached to a unit, she removes a condition token, which is
Mm-hmm.
very nice. And then if the unit she's attached to passes a panic test, she dishes out hits based on the amount of pillage she has, so up to
Mm-hmm.
2 hits. And this cool package, I think. It's very flexible. Removing the condition token is very strong. So like
Mm-hmm.
Khaleesi or like Catelyn from so it's very good
Yeah.
that you can kind of pick the moment when you need to remove this token, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, picture like you put her on swords, you want to attack with
Yeah.
the unit, but they're weakened, so you just take the weakened off and then attack. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this is very strong. The +2 morale, if you have 2 pillage tokens, also of course very good. can be very useful. For example, if you play her in a Baelon blacktide list, last
Hmm.
stand, you just get another +2 um, on your morale to save that unit, keep it in the fight, and yeah, those hits can be handy. I mean, you cannot really um, trigger those hits yourself, like you're reliant on the opponent attacking you. But
Yeah.
overall, it's a very nice package for a 4 points NCU, and I think she will be played more often. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like the change. I mean, if even just if she got the condition token removal, I think that would have been enough of a change to get her to see more play, because having reliable token removal is such an important thing in this game. Like you mentioned, Catelyn NCU and Khaleesi NCU are taken so often, uh, partly because they have a good another good effect on them, but the condition token removal is just so great. And the the extra hits are, I mean, that is nice, like you said, but you said it's not very reliable. You can't really rely on it too much unless you're really like making an effort to shoot into combat with your own bowman or something like that.
mhm,
But yeah, it's a nice. I mean, it's a nice new NCU. I don't know if she's going to rise to the top of all the NCUs of Greyjoy, like you mentioned before. We're all still living in the shadow of the Baelon NCU, so that's pretty much always going to be one of your NCUs. But yeah, I think she'll see more play now, and yeah, I'm excited for the change. It's a good change, I think.
yeah, me too.
Um,
It's good for sure.
yeah, and the next one that got changed is our old friend Baron blacktide. He started off
Oh,
life in this game as a very powerful NCU, one that was
yeah,
seen all the time, and then with the season 3 change, he got just totally slammed on the ground and
yeah,
just, I think, really destroyed. So I think the developers tried to kind of bring him back from the land of the dead here in this patch. What do you think, Dominic? How were the changes to Baron
yeah.
in this
I
patch?
I still weep for him. It's I still weep. I used to play him so much when he was having his different ability. I think
Yeah,
the
the
name
kind of
was the same.
resilience thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly this resilience thing, right? Blocking half of the hits or requiring 2 full hits to get a wound through was
Yeah.
so strong. And I think at that point, I was seeing it as the only opportunity to really reliantly block enemy cav charges. I mean, I was trying to play Greyjoy's infection, right? So you only have infantry. You're sluggish, you're slow. Enemy
Hmm.
has different mobility options, cavalry, and you're most of the time you're the one getting the first hit, right? And
Yeah.
with Baron, I felt much more safe. Um, Although he was like, it was not a no-brainer. I mean, I think he was not too strong. He had a lot of restrictions. It was the influence, right? You need to claim the zone first. Then he can only influence Greyjoy units, and then you had to remove him once you fail a morale test. So enemies could
Hmm.
play around it, right? Like they could crown zap you or like do some other shenanigans with tactic cards to try to remove Baron before they even attack. So
Yeah.
um, I think he wasn't too strong. I mean, he felt strong and he had very good. He had the ability was very good. Um, but I don't think they needed to nerf him that hard. To like they nerfed him and just gave him hardened, right? So and hardened got nerfed
Yeah. Harden got nerfed. Yeah.
in the same swing, and so it was like really not good. He was really not good anymore.
Hmm.
Now he also allows you to reroll morale tests, still for 4 points. Yeah, I'm still not taking him. I'm I'm still not taking him really. Yeah, I just don't. As we said before, there's so many good NCUs now, and he's just not
Yeah.
making it. He's not making the cut.
Yeah, and it's Greyjoys used to be the faction that almost one of their faction identities was having terrible morale, like on
Mm.
everything. But now it seems like the opposite. Like like our worst morale is what our trappers and bowmen. But all of our frontline units are all at the very worst, I think 7+ morale. Like our reavers are 7+ morale. Everything else is 6+. And then once you get one pillage, they go up. So really, I don't think Baron his morale rerolls are even that necessary anymore.
Mhm.
And we have so much healing that losing some wounds to a panic test, like who cares? It's not that big of a deal. And like you said, I think the most important part of the discussion is that there are so many other great NCUs in this game and in this faction that he's just not gonna rise above those other ones. So I think he's still just not good enough
Mhm.
to really be taken that much really
Yeah,
in Greyjoy lists.
like is I don't know. I just don't like Harden at the moment, and if I want to boost to morale, I'll just take Asha, as
Yeah,
we
exactly.
talked about before. She brings much more to the table,
Hmm.
much more reliant things, and yeah, I just don't see it at the moment. They have to
Yeah.
do something about him. Yeah,
Hmm. Yep,
yeah,
agreed. And then the last NCU we'll talk about is Tristopher Botley. So
right.
uh yeah, this is I don't know, Tristopher's had another he's had a little bit of history changes too. So season 3 he got changed a bit to I think his original form was one of his once per games was he could just shut one zone off and nobody could take it at all, which
Hmm.
I thought was pretty cool. I didn't take him in a lot of lists, but there was some tournament lists where you'd want to maybe take him as one of your other lists as kind of a control NCU
Hmm.
for zone control to shut off certain zones when you really needed to. But then in season 3, he got his ability changed so that players counted as controlling both zones, and I thought that was kind of meh. And now in season 4, that ability has changed again. The first ability I think has been the same all the whole time. It's a kind of a punishing ability once per game that you select a zone, and if an enemy NCU takes it, then you get to hand out a whole bunch of tokens.
Hmm.
But really, the only change here in season 4 is that second ability. Um, Sorry, did you want to say something, Dominic?
I'm thinking. I was just thinking about the first ability. I think he dishes
Hmm.
out tokens to 2 enemy units now, which is good.
Okay, was it one before?
I think it was one before, but I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. Like, I didn't play him
Mm-hmm.
that often, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, might also
Okay.
be different. Anyway, yeah. Please, do you have one more thought on the second ability,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, so the second ability now it's it reminds me a little bit of Tybalt's ability in Bolton's.
Hmm.
So the once per game, it allows you to when an enemy NCU activates, he can select a zone, and if that NCU claims that zone, then Tristopher gets to activate immediately afterwards. So, kind of the classic example, I guess, would be at the start of the round. If the other player is first player, you would use Tristopher's once per game to select the swords, and if they claim the swords, then Tristopher could then jump on something else immediately. So it's potentially useful, but then you kind of set yourself up for an activation disadvantage a little bit. I Potentially in that round, unless you're taking a high activation list already. Um, I'm I don't know. I think it's still a pretty situational ability. Christopher's always been kind of a situational NCU. Um, Definitely not one of the workhorse NCUs you would select anyway. So I'm not too keen on this new change. I don't see a whole lot of use for it personally. It doesn't seem to really synergize much with Greyjoy's playstyle that I can really tell. But maybe I'm just not seeing it. So I'm happy to be corrected by you, Dominic, or by anybody in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Christopher?
Yeah, Randall, I think you're correct. I mean, dishing out those tokens is quite nice. And the
Mhm.
second ability now, I tried him in a Vargo Holt list, where you
Mhm.
play the start of
Yeah,
round free
careless
attack,
aggression
yeah,
one.
careless
Yeah.
aggression, free attack, and then but it's the same situation, right? So you play
Hmm.
careless aggression, opponent wants to punish you by taking the swords, you block the swords with Tristopher or threaten to
Hmm.
just, I don't know, get go to the bags, heal back up, or
Yeah.
of course, as Greyjoy, you can always play We Do Not Sow or something and get another
Hmm.
attack in, right?
Yeah.
But I found his old ability where he could just block a zone much more useful.
Yeah.
Played it with outflank to deny my
Mm.
opponent the maneuver zone, the horses, after bringing in the unit. Um, but yeah, as you said, it's not a workhorse NCU. It's not one that you see very often. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, I'm still not 100% convinced now. Very niche, as you said, as a
Yeah.
control element maybe, but yeah, you can not force your opponent to do anything. You can deny him certain zones, but then he might also just pick something else, and then
Hmm.
his ability is wasted. Um, there might be a situation where it's very spot on, where you actually need exactly this ability, right? But in general, I'd rather wing someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's just still that discussion of there's so many great NCU choices, and none of these, not many of these updated NCUs really rise above that kind of bar that's set by the Baelon and then Varys. You're probably only gonna take 3 NCUs, so that's 1, 2 right there probably, and then that leaves that third slot very competitive.
Uh,
So, yeah,
yeah,
maybe I don't know.
we only talked about the
Yeah.
good NCUs and Greyjoys, right? You have so many good neutral NCUs
Yeah.
in Varys as well, yeah.
Hmm.
Varys Peter is useful sometimes, so
Hmm.
they're competing with all those NCUs that we have in faction as well, and yeah, yeah, Baelon outshines all of them, and I really like Roderick. Almost bring Roderick
Hmm.
every time,
Yeah. Totally.
um, unless I have a commander where I really don't need the commander cards.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, then still I'm not taking Tristopher really. Yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't have time to check and play as many games as I wanted. Obviously, I think no one really has. Um, and there might be some use that I or we haven't seen yet. And yeah, but for
Yeah,
now,
I'd love to hear if anybody in the comments has any really good stories where Tristopher came in clutch for them. I'd love to hear about it, but I just don't see it happening, or
yeah.
not enough that you would want to take him really very
Mhm.
often. So that does it for the NCUs. Now we're going to move into our final section here on combat units. There were quite a quite a lot of combat unit changes, and it is good to see just kind of overall how willing just kind of as a general comment, how willing the developers have been to make substantial changes following such a large patch. Following season 3, where the whole faction got overhauled pretty much
Mhm.
from the ground up, that the developers are open to continuing to tweak the faction more. They're not too prideful to say, we changed it, now you're going to live with it for a year, and we'll see how it is in a year. They're continuing to make progressively more little tweaks and changes to things. So I think that's really good. It shows just kind of the health of the game and the good development that the game is under. So it's just a general comment, and I'm happy to see some of that they're making so many changes to these units to make them all kind of more balanced and more just a more healthy game, I think. So that's just a general comment that I probably could have said earlier in the recording, but we'll just lead off here with blacktide chosen. That's kind of what spurred this comment on that. Blacktide chosen have gone through some changes themselves, and they went through changes also in season 3, but now they've, I think, even got a bigger, like the biggest change ever, I think I would say, was probably from this patch. And I think you've probably had more experience with them in season 4 than I have. Dominic, do you want to talk about what you think of Blacktide Chosen, and kind of what their role is now in the
Mhm.
faction?
Yeah, gladly. So as you said, like they, season 3 was a big patch for the Greyjoys, and I'm with you that I'm very happy that they continue to try to optimize the factions, and I think it was just too much to change in Greyjoys, so that
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't have done it in one patch, I think. because they try to just focus on the one thing first and then next thing in this patch. And yeah, blacktide chosen, they have gone through a lot of changes. Basically in every update there was something new with them. And I think finally they're in a spot where you can at least say that they have a defined role. They when they first came out,
Hmm.
they were 7 points unit, elite bracket, if you want to call it like this. And yeah, they were neither nor. They were like a support unit with like distributing the pillage token, but then they also had martial training, so they wanted to be kind of
Hmm.
offensive. And yeah, they've taken that away, for example, now, and they dropped them in points. And yeah, they made them a pure supplier unit, um,
Yeah.
like a frontline supply unit, let's say. Like they still have a good
Hmm.
profile for a Greyjoy unit with a 4-up save and a 6-up morale.
Hmm.
Um, and now they generate pillage tokens when you claim bags, right? And that's very good. You have another
Yeah.
source of reliably creating pillage, and their their actual pillage ability is that they improve, like they give a, how do you call it, iron resolve aura, kinda, right?
Yeah.
So give another
Yeah.
+1 to morale and -1 panic damage to every unit in 6 inches. And I think that's very strong and right, something that Greyjoys needed to enable units that didn't have a very strong morale stat. I mean, now you can put bowmen next to them, and if the bowmen and the blacktide chosen have a morale, have their pillage tokens, like the bowmens are also on 6-up morale with -1 panic
Hmm.
damage, and that's very
Yeah.
good and very strong. And um, yeah, and what makes me most happy is that it's just clear defined now. Before they were in between
Hmm.
chairs, kind of sorta, and now they just have their fixed role. Like they're no damage dealers. They're just standing there, being like the rock in the waves and making other
Yeah.
units stronger, kind of sorta. And
Hmm.
yeah, they're very versatile. You can put a lot of attachments, different attachments in them, depending on what you want to do with them.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, also good unit for your commander. Um, Dagmer is very nice in them, I think, as a commander
Yeah.
or as a battle scars attachment.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm pretty happy with them now. I think if you play on a tournament, you will want to bring them in one of your two lists, I think.
Yeah. I really like them for every reason you mentioned. They're just a very well-defined support unit right now, and they're happy to be in the front line because they're kind of tanky enough to be able to take some hits, and then kind of at the same time they're not such a threatening unit that your opponent is going to want to focus them down and kill them first, because they're not your silence men. They're not one of those units that's going to be killing things a lot. So they're almost like a unit that is making your army a lot stronger, but that isn't directly threatening the opponent to the point where they need to focus on them. And if they focus on the Black Tide Chosen, then your other units like your Silence Men or your Reapers or your other really offensive units can then just swing around and kind of attack that unit that's engaged in the Black Tide Chosen. But like you said, also I really like the thought of putting Dagmer in here, especially the Battle Scars attachment, because he can turn them. They used to be a 7 point unit and now they're 6 points. So if you put Dagmer in them, they go back to a 7 point unit, but they have this really versatile Battle Scars ability where they can kind of choose their own flavor of offensive abilities. So yeah, I'm very happy with them. I've had good success with them so far, and yeah, they're great. I like them.
Yeah.
And so the next unit we'll talk about is the Drowned Men. So these guys, they got nerfed slightly, I think, in season 3. Their morale worsened by 1, I believe, but that was pretty much that happened a lot in the faction, I think, because they were taking into account the fact that gaining pillage would increase morale by 1.
Yeah, they had
But
to.
in yeah,
Sorry, yeah,
go
they
ahead.
had to. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had to adjust a little bit um, about the morale stat because we had the inbuilt faction abilities that
Hmm.
now every unit can get +1 morale easily with one pillage token, and I think that's
Hmm.
what just happened there in the last patch. But now, yeah, something bigger happened. But yeah, I think you play them quite often, right? You're a big fan, so
Yeah. I've always liked these guys. Yeah, historically, I haven't used them so much now, but they got quite a nerf this time. So these guys, they used to be 4 wounds, and now they're 3 wounds, which may not sound like a big deal, or may not sound like a lot, but when you consider they have that innate resilience ability, where they only take 1 wound for every 2 unblocked hits. Going from 4 wounds to 3 wounds really effectively changes their health from like an 8 to a 6. So, these guys used to be able to just face tank really aggressive units and body block for your whole front line, or really hold up units that were a lot more expensive than them. And these guys are a 4 point unit. I remember I've used these guys to just block lance cav charges and all kinds of stuff that they really shouldn't be able to do. You think about these guys as just a mob of stinky, stinky, radical, fanatic priests. They shouldn't be able to just get in the way of a cavalry charge. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm okay with this nerf, because I never really felt it never felt right having these guys just blocking entire infantry charges. So I think now where they're at, it makes much more sense now. You use these guys for their drowned men's blessing ability, order more, and then if you need to, you can kind of throw them in front of something. But now I think they're much more, even just with this slight change to their health, they're now kind of more in that support role, and not in that meat shield mode that they were in before. So I'm okay with this change. It's definitely a nerf to the drowned men, but I'm okay with it, and it makes me happy because now I can do other stuff with my points and put more points into killing stuff, or use these guys just as a for their heal, or use them more often, actually using them to give rerolls to my bowmen if my bowmen are shooting into the front of something. So I'm okay with this change, honestly. What do you think, Dominic?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're totally right. They were doing a bit more than they were supposed to do
Mhm.
when they had their 4 health. I think they were always designed as a support unit, and they were never designed to be this kind of meat shield. Like,
Yeah.
as you said, they're a stinky rubble of crazy people. So
Hmm.
they shouldn't block the Knights of Castle Rock from going where
Yeah.
they should go. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, they're more reduced now, more well defined. Same as the blacktide chosen. Yeah, in a pinch you can still throw them in melee. Get 1 or 2 hits in, and then maybe cause some panic wounds. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I used to kill. I mean, I managed to kill a unit with drowned men, like in a like desperate charge or something happens. Yeah,
Hmm.
but they are there now to um just stand behind your main line units or in between. Just give the rerolls,
Hmm.
give the heal. Um, um, and yeah, that's what they're doing now. Maybe they can just protect the flank if the enemy has like wolves or something, right?
Yeah.
So everything that has low attack dice is okay for them to tank. I
Hmm.
think still the innate resilience is still quite strong, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, you just have to be way more careful where you place them um,
Yeah.
than before.
Yeah. Agreed. Moving on now to the Reapers. So these are guys that they have some of the coolest sculpts in the game. The models for the Reapers, but they're not a unit I've used all that much. They're they've received lots of changes over the years now, and I know season 3 really kind of messed with their unit identity, I thought, and now in season 4 they got changed, I think, maybe to be a little bit closer to what they used to be. But I think you've had more experience with them than I have, Dominic. Do you want to tell me what your thoughts are on the Reapers and how they changed?
Yeah, you're right again. Season 3 really messed them up in a bit. Like this kamikaze ability, I don't know
Hmm.
who thought that up. Like, was a bit wild. Um,
Yeah.
and totally away from what they were supposed to do, right? Like when they first came out, they always had this duality, right? Cause panic and then heal themselves or do more panic damage, right? And then
Hmm.
we went through like 2 or 3 iterations of how they were supposed to do that, and Simon wasn't really happy with any of those. And but I think now they're in a good spot. They just split up their Reaper's Favor ability into. I mean, it's still called Reaper's Favor, of course. Sorry, but
Hmm.
they took out the healing bit, just put Prey on Fear on the unit, and
Yeah.
this Reaper's Favor just gives them flat +1 wounds and causing panic tokens when they attack, when
Hmm.
they have the pillage. And I think that's a very neat change that they did there. Just split the ability ups and make it more clear, more
Yeah,
more
just more straightforward, I think. Yeah.
straightforward, more well designed, more
Hmm.
yeah uh, I don't know what to say. Fuck.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean now, yeah, I mean just them having Prey on Fear, I think is just great because now they always will reliably be healing themselves on failed panic tests. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's still a panic based ability. I had games where they attack 4, 5, 6 times and the opponent always passes the morale test and then
Hmm.
there's no healing, right? And then you don't get the extra damage through and then they're just yeah, of course, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, but I think they're in a very good spot. They're a very good solid unit since they also last season got improvement to attack dice and movement.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they're very I think when you think about all the Greyjoy units as a single entity, they are the ones that can fend for themselves the best. They have the damage
Hmm.
to kill almost any unit. They heal themselves back up, and yeah, it's just a very round package that they bring now.
Hmm.
And yeah, they feel very good to play actually. So
Yeah,
they
I haven't used them in season 4 yet, but they definitely look a lot more yeah, fun and kind of reliable, and that I like that their +1, their +1 panic wound is kind of independent of other panic wound modifying abilities. So you've got like intimidating presence. You could put
Mhm.
like Ramsey in them to do +2 additional wounds,
Yeah, for
or
example, yeah.
yeah, and then they synergize well with the Silence Men because the Silence Men, their aura will affect the target of these guys. And yeah, they're one of these units that I've always really liked the look of and would like to use. I just haven't given them a try in a long time. So season 4 definitely has made me want to give them another chance and kind of build a little kind of panic build around them. So yeah, I'm excited for these guys. They look a lot more fun, a lot more consistent and reliable than they have before.
Yeah,
And yep, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to say, try them out. They're a really cool unit.
Hmm.
And what I find is now with the Blacktide Chosen's also only costing 6 points.
Hmm.
Um, it you can very well build a 8 activation list very nicely with
Hmm. Yeah.
Reapers and the Blacktide Chosen. So yeah, it's good. Gives you more options. You're not so reliant on the Silence Man anymore to be like your main damage dealer. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
So we'll move on to the trappers. We just have a couple units left. So trappers, now the trappers they've always been one of my favorite units in Greyjoys. I know they're not the most they're not like a rock star kind of a unit, but I've always loved their sculpts. And I've always just found them to be useful. And the I think the biggest change for these guys in season 4 was to their trappers tools order. It used to be that these guys had to be engaged with something in order to use their order, but now instead they can just throw a token at something in short range. So you don't even have to get these guys engaged with an enemy unit anymore to get their tools or to get their condition tokens out. Now, I think these guys maybe are also getting a little bit more kind of in the spotlight now that the drowned men have kind of fallen out of favor as the meat shield of the Greyjoys, because the trappers have 12 wounds, the drowned men have fewer effective wounds now, and
Yes. 6 now, basically, right?
Yeah, basically 6. So the drowned men can get one shot much easier now. The trappers, I think, are definitely now filling that meat shield role that I think were probably designed to fill, and which I'm pretty happy about. So I've been taking these guys in almost every one of my lists, but that's not necessarily because they're the best unit. Like I said, I've always liked these guys. I have them painted, so that's going to increase the ability, the probability that they're going to see play for me. And I've just always found them useful. I've even put more point. I've even thrown like Makoro or Makoro 2-point attachment in these
Mm-hmm.
guys for supply aid. So I'll keep them close to my front line, kind of covering a flank or something, put Makoro in them,
Mm-hmm.
be close enough to throw condition tokens out at something, and then use Makoro's supply aid to move wounds off of these guys onto other
All
units
right. Yeah.
in my formation. So it turns them into a 6-point unit, but it makes them like a really even more powerful support unit. So I really like these guys. I'm happy with the change. I think, like I said, this change in conjunction with the Drowned Men nerf is going to make trappers, I think, a lot more a common sight in Greyjoy lists. What do you think, Dominic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I concur. The 4-point spot is now really open as well since Bowman got nerfed
Hmm.
because of loss of finger dance, of course, and some stat changes. Trappers got improved, Drownman got been nerfed. So yeah,
Hmm.
I like them now as well. I think uh, people really underestimate them sometimes how tanky they can be. Of course, you cannot
Yeah.
throw them into everything, right? And they still fall to everything that's moral-based damage. Anything with
Hmm.
vicious is really deadly for them. But with a weaken token that they can dish out plus the disrupt, they can be quite tanky. And yeah, I like them. They um, they have good synergies. Removing the necessity to be engaged to dish out the token really, really helped them. Now they
Hmm.
can be this kind of I dance around you and just harass you kind of unit. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, they can they will see play, I think. Also an 8 activation list, you can take them, and they will be worth their points.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. And so that brings us to the last change of the season 4 update, and that is the Silenced Men. So the Silenced Men in season 3 got like a huge buff. I think they kind of took the top spot for offensive units in the Greyjoy faction. I think they caught a nerf here, but I think even in spite of that nerf, I think they're still just a great unit for Greyjoys, and I think they're still finding a spot in most lists out there. Now their morale bubble took a nerf, so it used to reduce the morale of nearby units by 1 for every pillage you have. Now it only affects units if you have 2 pillage tokens, and it reduces their morale by 1. And it no longer reduces the panic wounds that the silenced men suffer. So they got a little bit of a nerf to their panic resilience, and they got a nerf to their ability to inflict morale aura around them. But even in spite of that, they still hack things apart great with their weapons. So I think the nerf was deserved because these guys just did so much. I think they just did more than a 7-point unit really needed to do. But they're still a very strong unit. I think they're still worth the 7 points. Um,
Yeah, most
and yeah,
definitely.
I mean you still see them everywhere, but yeah, they don't feel quite as oppressive as they did before. So I'm happy that they got nerfed to back into kind of the 7-point, a good 7-point kind of point cost. What do you think, Dominic?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Season 3 was like they were the shining stars of the update for the Greyjoys.
Hmm.
They kind of did everything then. They got the super sundering and they got more attack dice and they still had the aura and they still didn't take any panic damage and that was just too much.
Hmm.
They were super tanky, with Dauntless healing themselves, and I don't know, they were just doing everything, and yeah, felt more like an 8-point unit than the 7-point unit that they're supposed to be. Now they streamlined them, as with many other units in the faction. They the Silence Infamy, right, only triggers when you have 2 pillage token, as with any other unit now. Now they have their everyone has Raiders of the Island, but
Hmm.
the inbuilt pillage mechanic only works if you have 2 pillage token. That's cool.
Yeah.
They took away the panic aura, to a degree, reducing it to only 1 morale. And what was the biggest hit, of course, is that they take full panic damage now.
Hmm.
They, as most of the Greyjoy units now, are very vulnerable to any kind of damage, but they kept their identity as like the big axe in the house of the,
Yeah.
and they have their purpose with the Super Sundering. They're the unit that should go for the most heavily armored enemy, and
Hmm.
yeah, and they're still very strong. They have a very good attack profile. 765 on a 3+ is very, very good. And they have very good synergies still with Victarion, who gives them vicious, who dishes out vulnerable token. And that's why they're still so scary, because they have still
Yeah.
innate good abilities, and they have very good synergies with certain commanders. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's why they're in a good spot. They do what they should be doing, um, opening the tin cans with their big axes. And yeah, they're in a good spot now. Very well balanced, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. So that brings us to the end of all the changes. I think just kind of thoughts on the faction overall. I'm really happy with where they are. If we take like the Song of Ice and Fire stats page, kind of power rankings as kind of a little bit of a barometer for how they're pretty much middle of the pack right now. I think
Hmm.
um, in my own local experience, I've had really great success with the I almost said Boltons. That's definitely not the case. The Greyjoys. I've had a lot of success with the Greyjoys locally, and if anything, I'm finding that the Greyjoys have a lot more things to keep track of now. There's lots of more pillage interactions and lots of more. They're a more complex faction, I think, than they used to be. They used to be a lot more simple, and now there's like stuff I'm forgetting all the time as I'm playing. There's all
Hmm.
these different overlapping pillage mechanics and abilities that move pillage around and stuff. So they're, I think, a little bit more of a complex faction to play now, and or at least to get the most out of them, they're a little more complicated. But they feel really good to play. I think they're in a really good spot, and I think they're a very well balanced faction now. So I'm really happy with where they are, and they're just a whole lot of fun to play. Season 4, I've been saying I'm going to be playing a lot more Baratheons, and I do want to play more Baratheons, but I've found myself probably playing more Greyjoys in season 4 than anything else, and they feel really fun and good to play. What's your experience, or what's your kind of final thoughts, Dominic,
Yeah.
on Greyjoys?
Yeah, as a final statement, I'd also say that I'm happy with all the changes. They managed to round out the faction, like give very good internal balance. As we said,
Mhm.
we went through the units, the NCUs, and the commanders. I don't feel that anyone is really falling off. Like of course, a few NCUs I wouldn't play competitively, but they're all
Mhm.
very well to play in a normal friendly setting, let's say. Um, I think all the commanders are great. All the units are cool, um, very playable, and in a reasonable spot for their point cost. And the faction itself, as you said, yeah, is still not a beginner-friendly faction with all the overlapping interactions, the
Mhm.
triggers and stuff. You need to be very aware when you want to what you want to play when.
Yeah.
You have to you get the timings right. And yeah, but they feel very nice. I enjoy playing them. It's a lot to test, a lot changed. So there's a whole new list building ideas floating around, and yeah, it's exciting times, I think. And as you said, on stats, we're not rock bottom anymore. We're floating around in the middle, in the ebb and flow, going up and down, but never really going to the bottom anymore. And yeah, I think that shows that the update really helped.
Yeah.
What still is like a problem is that if you play Infection, then you're still infantry only army. Of course, you have some movement 6 units, but you're still missing some movement tools, um, like swift reposition or something on a unit as an order to just quickly move a unit here and there. Yeah, I think that's what's missing still. Um, if you want to play them, if you really want to play them as they're intended, um, uh, as an infantry only army, then they need a bit more movement shenanigans to
Yeah.
counter the lack of fast units. And yeah, may maybe there's going to be something happening. I think there's still a lot of attachments missing for a lot of units, and maybe a new hero box is on the way. You never know. I mean, there's going to be some changes at some point, of course, and we'll see what's happening. Anyway, I think since the Greyjoys came out a few years ago, this is the best spot we've been in.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I'm really happy about the last update.
Yeah. Yeah, all very well said. I'm excited for their future. I've heard rumors that there's like a Greyjoy attachment box that might be coming out sometime this year or next year. I've heard, but for all we know, that could be mostly reskins of existing attachments and maybe one or two new ones. But yeah, I'm really excited for the future of Greyjoys. I just got my hands on the Stony Shore Pillagers and played a game with them a couple weeks ago. So yeah, lots of stuff still to try out and experiment with, and yeah, I'm really excited for season 4. So that's going to do it for this video. Dominic, I really want to thank you for joining me. It was great talking with you again after hanging out in Hamburg, and um, hopefully after the next update, in a few months when the next one comes out in the summer, we can do a season 5 review again
Perfect.
together.
That would be great. Thank you for inviting me again. It was very big fun to talk to you about the changes, and yeah, good to catch up as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to do this next season again. Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, well, until next time, this is Randall
And Dominic.
signing off.